Once upon a time, in the bustling city of Owerri, lived a woman who bought a house for her mother, only to take it back and hand it to her boyfriend. Her name was Chiamaka, and she was not only successful but generous to a fault. Chiamaka worked tirelessly and made sure that her widowed mother was well taken care of. A woman who spent her entire life selling vegetables in the market to train her child in school. So, when Chiamaka finally made it in life, the first thing she did was to buy her mother a house. It was a beautiful house in Owerri with white walls, tiled floors, and a small garden that sat in front for her mother to plant her favorite vegetables. Chiamaka felt so fulfilled when she handed the keys to her mother and watched her weep like a child. Years passed and her mother lived peacefully in the house. She was finally comfortable after living in a dilapidated house for most of her life. However, just when she thought life had finally smiled down on her, her daughter Chiamaka informed her that she had to vacate the house. Her mother stared at her in disbelief. "Vacate?" her mother repeated, her voice trembling as she asked if the house no longer belonged to her. "Chiamaka, is this house not mine again?" her mother said as tears poured down her face. Chiamaka could not look her in the eyes. She stared at the table and informed her mother that she needed the house for something so important. The old woman's knees buckled as she sat slowly on the chair she loved so much. "For what, Chiamaka?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper as Chiamaka swallowed hard and informed her mother that she needed the house for love. That was how her mother learnt about Kobi, the man who had promised to marry Chiamaka. Kobi heard about the house that she bought for her mother and pleaded with her to give him the house to start his business. He revealed that the house was in the best location for the kind of business that he had in mind. Kobi was such a smooth talker. He had a way with words and told Chiamaka that starting his own business in that house would position him better to secure big deals. Kobi went on to say that the house was too big for her mother alone. He cunningly framed his demand as a concern, suggesting that the house was too much for an old woman. Kobi advised Chiamaka to rent a smaller apartment for her mother that would not be too big for her to clean and navigate, and Chiamaka, being so deeply in love, saw reason in what he was saying. "After all, when I make money, I will have enough to marry you and even buy another house for your mother," he said to Chiamaka, who smiled like a lost goat. Within weeks, Chiamaka rented a one-bedroom apartment at Oji for her mother. She promised it was temporary, not knowing that she was making the worst mistake of her life. "Mommy, it's just for a while," she said, avoiding her mother's eyes. "Once Kobi settles, everything will be fine." Chiamaka watched her mother pack her bags quietly. She did not shout. She did not curse. She only cried softly as she left the house that she had finally called home. Kobi moved in immediately. He repainted the walls, changed the locks, brought in signboards and told the neighbors that he was the owner of the property. Kobi used his business as a reason, making Chiamaka sign over the house ownership to him. He proposed to her, promising to begin their wedding plans once his business stabilizes, and Chiamaka could not hold back her excitement. She felt so proud, knowing that soon she would become his wife. Chiamaka imagined wedding bells. She imagined prosperity with a man who treated her like the queen that she was. Kobi was one man who kept to his words and never gave her a reason to doubt his love for her. That December, as Christmas approached, Kobi came to her one evening with excitement written all over his face. "My mother wants to meet you properly," he said. "She wants you to spend Christmas with us in the village." Chiamaka's heart leapt. This was serious. This meant family. This meant marriage was close. But there was a problem. Chiamaka had already promised her own mother that she would spend Christmas with her in Oji. It would be their first Christmas together since she moved out of the house. Her mother had been excitedly counting the days, and Chiamaka did not know what to do. She told Kobi that she had already promised her mother that she would spend the Christmas with her, and Kobi reminded her that she had already spent uncountable Christmas holidays with her mother all her life. Just one Christmas away from her would not make much of a difference, he said to Chiamaka, who he convinced that her mother should understand. "My mother cannot wait to see you. I told her we'll be coming, and she leapt for joy to see the woman after my own heart." Chiamaka melted like butter on hearing this. She agreed to his request as she made up her mind to cancel on her own mother's plans. She called her mother hours later and informed her that she won't be spending the Christmas with her any longer. "Mommy, Kobe wants me to spend Christmas with his family," she said hesitantly, as her mother remained silent on the other end of the phone. There was a long silence, as her mother later informed her that she was looking forward to their time together. "Since your father died, I've lived all alone. Your brother left us in this country and has not returned for over 5 years. I have no one else to spend Christmas with. Not a sister, not a friend, as my best friend Nkoli went to Jos for her daughter's omugwo," she said to Chiamaka, who promised to come visit her after Christmas. Her mother did not argue. She only told her to be careful of Kobe, and Chiamaka could not help but pick offense. She could not understand why her mother would say such a thing to her. "Why are you always suspicious of him, Mama?" she asked, her voice tight with irritation as she continued to speak. "Kobe loves me, Mommy, and will soon be getting married once his business stabilizes." Her mother sighed softly as she continued to speak on her phone. "I'm only saying this because I love you, my daughter," she replied. "Just be careful. That's all I have to say," she said to Chiamaka, who informed her that she had heard. Chiamaka ended the call. Her heart hardened with offense as she called Kobe on the phone to inform him that their plans for the Christmas was now solid. Chiamaka spent the next few days preparing for their trip to the village. She bought gifts for Kobe's mother, his sister, hoping to win their heart on this trip. She got expensive fabrics, shoes, bags, and even a kid's tablet for Kobe's sister's son. From the moment they arrived the village, Chiamaka was treated like royalty. Kobe's mother hugged her tightly and called her my daughter. His sister praised her endlessly, commenting on how beautiful she was. She thanked her for standing by their brother. They cooked together, laughed together, and even prayed together. Every day, they reminded her how lucky Kobe was to have a woman like her. "You are a rare woman," his mother would always say, stating that any woman who can sacrifice so much for a man deserves so much respect. Those words sank deep into Chiamaka's heart. For one whole week, she stayed with them, and his family treated her like a queen that she was. His mother even introduced her to all of her friends as her son's wife, and Chiamaka could not contain her excitement. Her love for Kobe grew to see how much his family loved and cherished her. Chiamaka even went online to make a post for young girls to pray to have a good mother-in-law. She praised Kobe's mother for being a good mother, who not only raised the man after her heart, but also pampered her like a baby. Many congratulated her in the comments as they tapped into her blessing and prayed to have a mother-in-law like hers. Chiamaka was basking in the euphoria of her illusion, completely unaware that she was celebrating the very people who were quietly preparing for her own downfall. She did not even call her mother, who was back in Oji alone, celebrating Christmas in the one-bedroom apartment that her daughter moved her into. She cooked a small pot of rice that Christmas morning and set 2 plates on the table out of habit, as she stared at them for a long while before quietly packing one away. Chiamaka's mother ate alone as tears poured down her eyes. She wished she had someone to spend the Christmas with, as she sat there alone, listening as her neighbors celebrated their Christmas with their families. Her heart was so heavy as she sat there and prayed for her daughter to find true happiness. Mama did not like Kobe much. She believed he had ulterior motive towards her daughter, but had nothing to prove her claim. So she decided to pray, hoping that Chiamaka would finally see him for who he truly was. However, Chiamaka was there in the village, laughing loudly as his sister told her things that Kobe did when they were kids. How he locked himself in the fridge for minutes, whilst hiding away from their father, who was running after him with a belt in his hand. Everyone laughed as his sister narrated how Kobe had always been so clever, always knowing how to talk himself out of trouble, how he could convince anyone to give him anything if he wanted it badly enough. "This my brother can talk, eh?" his sister said proudly, revealing that even when he was wrong, Kobe will always make you feel like you're the one at fault. Chiamaka laughed aloud, ignoring the warning signs that were just in front of her. A few days later, they returned to Owerri, and Chiamaka could not contain her excitement. At first, everything seemed normal. Kobe still called her my wife. He still held her hands in public. He still spoke about the future, though now the future always sounded vague. Whenever Chiamaka mentioned fixing a wedding date, Kobe would sigh deeply and ask why she was rushing him. "Do you want to put pressure on me when I'm trying to build something for us?" he asked Chiamaka, who apologized and convinced herself that great things took time. Weeks rolled into months, and Kobe was still yet to start up the business that he promised Chiamaka. He now lived in the house that was supposed to be his office space, claiming that doing so would make him focus his time on building his business without thinking about transporting himself to the house daily. At first, he moved into one of the rooms, but as the weeks went by, Kobe began to transform the house into his own personal space. In fact, his mother and sister moved in to live with him, claiming that the roof of their home collapsed after a storm, leaving them with nowhere else to go. Chiamaka was surprised when she heard this, but Kobe quickly reassured her. "It's temporary," he said. "Once the rainy season passes, they'll go back to the village." At first, Chiamaka visited the house freely. She came with food, bought groceries, and cleaned whenever she could. Then one evening, Kobe called her aside. "Babe," he said calmly, "please, next time you want to come to the house, just call me first." Chiamaka frowned. "Why?" He smiled softly and touched her hand. "It's not what you're thinking," he said. "My mom is old-fashioned. She doesn't like surprises, and sometimes I might be discussing sensitive business matters. Just call first so I can prepare." It sounded reasonable, so Chiamaka agreed. From that day on, she never went to the house without calling Kobe first. Sometimes, when she called, he would say he was not home. Other times, he would tell her it wasn't a good time. Occasionally, he wouldn't pick her calls at all. Slowly, her visits began to reduce. The house she bought, the house she signed away, the house meant for business, she was now a visitor by appointment. One afternoon, Chiamaka decided to stop by unannounced. She had cooked Kobe's favorite soup and wanted to surprise him. As she approached the house, she noticed Kobe's car parked outside. Her heart leapt, but just as she opened the door, she saw something that made her heart drop. Kobe was kissing another woman in the house. Chiamaka stood there frozen as her heart skipped violently in her chest as she stood by the doorway, unable to move. Her breath caught in her throat as she tried to understand what exactly was happening. The woman suddenly pulled away as Chiamaka in that moment realized that it was his sister, the same sister who had praised her in the village, laughed with her, and cooked the food that she ate. That same sister who had thanked her for standing by her brother. Chiamaka could not believe her eyes. Her hands began to shake as she asked Kobe what was happening. Kobe turned slowly, and for the first time since they met, he had no words for her. The woman stepped forward and sighed deeply. "I'm tired of pretending. Kobe, I think it's high time you tell her the truth." Chiamaka's knees buckled. She stood there frozen as the woman looked her in the eyes and revealed that she was not his sister. "I am his wife, oh," she said as the room spun like a carousel. "Wife?" Chiamaka screamed as she began to stammer. "But Mama called you her daughter," she said as his wife laughed her in the face and called her a blind fool. "Did you not see our son and how he looked so much like Kobe?" she asked Chiamaka, who remembered how she never saw his sister in any of their family photos in their home. She even remembered one night when she woke up searching for Kobe all over the house, but later found him in his sister's room. Everything now began to make more sense to her. Chiamaka in that moment realized that Kobe's mother was in on everything. The realization hit Chiamaka like thunder. All the smiles, all the hugs, all the praises, they were never welcoming her. They were studying her. Kobe's wife folded her arms and laughed bitterly. "My name is Ada," she said. "I've been married to Kobe for 8 years. 8? Chiamaka's ears rang. "And our son," Ada continued, "he's 5. The same boy you bought a tablet for." Chiamaka staggered backwards. "You mean everyone knew?" she whispered as Ada nodded slowly. "Mama knew from day one. The prayers were a performance. The Christmas was a test." Kobe finally spoke, his voice flat. "You weren't supposed to find out like this," he said, "but you made things complicated." Chiamaka let out a hollow laughter that sounded nothing like herself. "So, this house?" she asked, her voice shaking. "The business, the proposal." Ada smiled. "There was never any business," she said. "This house was the plan." The walls closed in on her. "My mother's house?" Chiamaka screamed. "The house I bought with my sweat?" Kobe shrugged. "You gave it willingly, oh. And by the way, we owned the house before you even bought it. The house belonged to us until Kobe used the property as collateral for a loan that he could not repay." The bank sold the house, leaving us homeless as we had to move back to the village to live with Mama. Kobe decided to get the house back. He returned to Owerri and realized that an old woman now lived in the house. Kobe thought of a way out and realized that you bought the house for your mother. So he followed you and made your paths cross on that fateful day at the gym. Chiamaka felt her legs give way. So everything was planned? She whispered as Kobe began to laugh loudly. Yes, he said proudly. From the day I smiled at you, from the day I listened to your stories about your mother, from the day you told me that you bought a house for her, Ada joined in the laughter. Do you know how easy you were? He mocked. You were desperate to be loved, so we followed the script. Kobe would have dumped you since, if not for his greed. He wanted to get a huge sum of money from you before dumping your silly ass. Kobe stepped closer, his voice dripping with confidence as he called Chiamaka a desperate woman. Chiamaka could not believe her ears. Her heart shattered into a million pieces to realize what Kobe had done. You wicked people! I'll report you two to the police, she said to Kobe, who laughed at her and gave her the permission to do so. After all, no one will believe you. I'll tell them that you are my bitter ex, who has refused to allow me live in peace with my family. I never put a gun to your head to give me the property. You signed the house over to me as a gift. You did it willingly. Who do you think will believe your story? He said as Ada clapped her hands and laughed. Even if you scream, who will listen? She added. You will just look like a bitter ex-girlfriend who lost a man. They both laughed again. Long, loud, victorious laughter as Chiamaka stood there silently, tears streaming down her face, not of weakness, but of rage. She turned and walked out of the house as Kobe laughed loudly with his wife. Chiamaka ran to her mother's house, the one-bedroom apartment that she rented for her. After moving her out of the mansion that she once bought, she collapsed into her mother's arms, sobbing like a wounded child. She narrated to her mother how Kobe deceived her and took over the house. She told her mother how Kobe lied that his wife was his sister, how the entire family planned it and deceived her into believing that he loved her. I don't know what to do, Mama. No one will ever believe me because I signed the house over to him willingly, she said as tears poured down her eyes like a fountain. Her mother listened quietly. She did not scream. She did not curse. Instead, she nodded slowly as though she had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. When Chiamaka finished speaking, her mother wiped her tears and excused herself to her room. Chiamaka looked at her confused as she watched her mother return from the room with her small Android phone in her hand. Chiamaka watched in disbelief as her mother placed the phone in her hand as she began to speak. Do you remember the day a young man came to the house selling security cameras? Chiamaka frowned, trying to remember. He said thieves were plenty in Owerri. Her mother continued. He said this one is very small, so small that nobody can notice it. Her mother paused and smiled faintly as she revealed to Chiamaka that she paid the man to install the cameras in the house on that fateful day. Chiamaka's breath hitched in her throat. He installed it in the sitting room, her mother said calmly, behind the wall light. Then, he installed an app on my phone. He said I can watch the house from anywhere, even when I am asleep. Chiamaka's heart began to race. When Kobe asked us to leave the house, I forgot about the camera completely and did not remove it. Chiamaka could not believe her ears. She sat there frozen as her mother told her to go through her phone for the footage. Chiamaka's fingers shook as she went through the phone. The screen loaded as she went through the CCTV archives and saw the video. Every confession, every insult, every admission of fraud recorded in a video that she never knew existed. Chiamaka dropped the phone and screamed out in relief as she apologized to her mother for all the pain that she had caused her. She promised her mother that she would never again choose love over loyalty or a man over the woman who gave her life. Chiamaka knelt on the cold floor and held her mother's leg tightly. I failed you, Mommy. Chiamaka sobbed. I abandoned you for someone who never loved me. Please forgive me, Mommy. Her mother lifted her gently, cupped her face and wiped her tears. I warned you because I loved you, she said softly, but every child must learn with their own eyes. That very night, Chiamaka backed up the footage. Every word, every laughter, every confession and plan. She contacted her lawyer the next morning and gave him everything that she had. When Kobe received the court papers, he laughed until he sat in the court and saw the video projected on a large screen. The courtroom went silent. There in the video was Kobe, as well as his wife Ada, laughing, boasting, confessing to fraud, admitting that the house was taken under false pretenses as they mocked Chiamaka for trusting them, calling her easy. Kobe's face drained of color as Ada began to shake. For the first time, the laughter stopped as the judge ruled in favor of Chiamaka. The transfer of the house was declared fraudulent as the deed was finally reversed. The property was returned to its rightful owner as Kobe lost the house as well as his freedom as the court sentenced them for fraud. Chiamaka moved her mother back into the house, and from that day on, she learned a painful truth that any man who asks you to betray your mother will one day betray you in a way that you will never expect. The lesson to be learned from this story is that love without wisdom is dangerous, and generosity without discernment can become self-destruction. Anyone who truly loves you will never ask you to dishonor your parents, abandon your values, or sacrifice your security to prove loyalty. A mother's warnings are not jealousy, but protection born from experience. Trust must be earned, not pressured, and no promise of marriage is worth losing your dignity, your family, as well as your future. In the end, love that demands blindness is not love at all. It's a trap, so always be careful.